Good afternoon and welcome to CGLCC's annual Global LGBT+ Business Summit and this session all about the CGLCC. My name is Darrell Sherman and I'm the co-founder and the CEO of the Chamber. So what we wanted to share with you over the next 35 to 40 minutes is to provide you with a good introduction and overview of who CGLCC is and what we do. I'm here with many of the CGLCC team who are going to walk you through the various programs and services that we offer and answer any questions you may have about what we do, how we can support you, or how you can get involved. This is very much an opportunity for you to get to know us. I know it's not the easiest to build those connections virtually, but we're going to try our best. So I would encourage you to put any questions you may have in the chat function on the right-hand side, and we'll address those as we go along. So before I hand it over to my colleagues, what I thought I'd do is just give you a bit of a background on who CGLCC is and why we do what we do. And then the team will go over what it is we actually do. So the Chamber is a national not-for-profit organization with a goal to support the economic empowerment of the LGBT+ community through entrepreneurship. We work to support Canada's estimated 100,000 LGBT+ businesses across the country to grow and succeed, striving to create a truly inclusive Canadian economy. The other co-founder, Bruce McDonald, and I formed the Chamber in 2003, almost 18 years ago to the day. At that time, there were 4 provincial LGBT+ chambers of commerce in Canada: BC, Manitoba, Ontario, and Quebec. These chambers existed to really help connect LGBT+ businesses and professionals, not only creating networks of individuals with shared experiences, but also to do business with each other. They realized if they wanted to support each other, they needed to be able to identify other LGBT+ owned businesses and professionals, and an LGBT+ business group could facilitate that. We have to remember that there was a time when the rights LGBT people have here in Canada just didn't exist. There's a very long history of homophobia, biphobia, and transphobia backed by the criminal law in this country. It wasn't until 1969 that Bill C-150 was introduced, which decriminalized homosexual acts between consenting adults. But this change in the criminal law did not end the discrimination. It wasn't until 1996, only 25 years ago, that the Canadian Human Rights Act was amended to include sexual orientation as a protected ground, and not until 2017 that gender identity and expression were added. So we saw things like the active campaign to identify and purge federal public servants and military, which began in the 50s, really continue for decades. And what we saw was that out of fear of protection and discrimination within the workplace, many LGBT+ individuals turned to entrepreneurship, where they had at least a little bit of control, some degree of control. And now, many of these entrepreneurs felt that they had to continue to hide who they were, especially when dealing with customers and clients. At that time, we certainly didn't have corporate Canada actively and outwardly expressing their support. That just wasn't even imaginable back then. And many LGBT+ business owners continued to face discrimination in other ways, including being denied access to capital needed to grow their businesses. These barriers were preventing our LGBT+ entrepreneurs from being able to fully participate in the Canadian economy. So the role of these local chambers and business groups really became important support mechanisms for many of them, and not only for connections and networks, but for businesses. And what we've seen over the years is an evolution of the role LGBT+ chambers play. They've grown to be more than just networking groups, to be organized groups of business leaders using economics and their economic power to challenge continued discrimination that the LGBT+ community faced and continues to face. So why a national chamber, though? If we had local LGBT chambers and business organizations, why did we actually need a national Canadian chamber? When I met Bruce, he had been inspired by what was taking place in the US, where there was a movement to establish a formal network and organization that actively promoted pro-business and LGBT inclusive policies at the national level. He and I talked about ways that we could enhance the work that was being done at the local level and drive social change by further supporting and creating opportunities for all of Canada's LGBT+ entrepreneurs and businesses through national programming and advocacy. As we had seen in the US, we knew that economic equality was an important element for the civil rights movement and most recently the LGBT equality movement. But we knew that the impact and contribution of Canada's LGBT entrepreneurs on the Canadian economy largely went unnoticed. Our businesses are creating employment, they are paying taxes, They are important contributors to the Canadian economy and a vital part of Canada. And there was a need for an organization to continue to talk about the importance of LGBT plus business and advocate for them at the corporate and public level. We all knew that small businesses are the engine that drives the economy here in Canada, but what we needed to do was to help people realize that LGBT SMEs play an important part in that. At the end of the day, our goal was to work to ensure that LGBT plus entrepreneurs had an equal place at the table. And that's what we've been working towards ever since. We're now working with over 45 corporate partners who are saying, we want to do business with you, not despite that you are LGBT, but because you are LGBT. We're working with the federal government to support our businesses grow by expanding internationally. And we're showing that being an out business owner and being successful is possible and does not have to be mutually exclusive. We are creating opportunities for all Canadian LGBT plus businesses by facilitating access. And ultimately, we are driving social change through the power of business. So let me now pass it over to my colleague, Dale McDermott, to talk about the work that CGLCC has been doing and where we're going. Dale?
Well, thank you so much, Darryl. And, I think it's very interesting, hearing you reflect on, where the Chamber came from and, how much it's grown. You're on the podcast with the other co-founder, Bruce McDonald, quite recently. And I think it's a very interesting story because what it demonstrates is, the arc of progress in Canada and how much of a long journey it has been. And, thankful to say, we are seeing real progress. You mentioned, Darryl, about kind of the economic potential for this community. And, certainly our research tells us that, of course. We conducted the first ever landscape research study for LGBT plus businesses across Canada. It was released in 2019. And, that demonstrated that overall, the LGBT plus business community in Canada is, generating around $22 billion in economic activity every year. And they're employing, close to 500,000 full-time and part-time Canadians. So, it's a really sizable, community, but they are facing unique challenges. And this speaks to why, a dedicated Chamber of Commerce dedicated to supporting the LGBT plus community is needed. That research told us that, around 1 in 3, have faced, a loss of opportunity and a loss of sales because of how they identify. And we know from that study as well, 3 in 10, sadly, have faced direct discrimination. Now, CGLCC is going to be releasing an updated piece of research to that report in the coming weeks, which I think will, further update that research and, further inform the work that we do here at the Chamber and the programming as well. But to answer your question, I think the future for the Chamber is very bright, and I think the future for the LGBT plus business community in Canada is very bright. And there's 3 specific things which I think are worth calling out. The first is our community. You mentioned, Darryl, the amazing number of corporate partners who are dedicating their support, financial, expertise, etc., to the work that we do. And without them and indeed our wider community, this organization wouldn't, it wouldn't be possible. And, you referenced there 45 corporate partners, incredible growth, even more recently in the last, in the last 2 quarters alone. And, one of the reasons I think that we're seeing this taking such an important level in the eyes of corporate Canada and indeed, I think corporates globally, I think the murder of George Floyd last year and the subsequent Black Lives Matter movement, I think was a real turning point for ESG and corporate social responsibility. Businesses are now being held way more accountable to stakeholders, to industry for doing the right thing is now really important. And certainly we're seeing lots of corporates, lots of companies wanting to do the best that they can and to, walk this journey of progress with us. And, certainly I think, as that happens, I think the size of our corporate community will grow. And I also think, the numbers of people wanting to be a part of our community are also growing. We've seen incredible growth in our membership in the last year as well. And I think, a big part of that is because, the pandemic has, it's really disconnected us. Before the pandemic, we would be connected in villages and other places that we feel safe in. But I think the pandemic has definitely disconnected our community. And I think what one of the benefits of the pandemic, I suppose, is that we've been able to reach out to further communities across the country. So from coast to coast to coast, CGLCC is representing membership across the country and truly becoming a national federal not-for-profit, which I think is absolutely fantastic. And then I think, to my second point around programming, I think CGLCC has fantastic programs, first of all, to start with. I think Supplier Diversity, has been our key core program for the last number of years. We've been working with our corporate partners to diversify their supply chains, to diversify procurement in Canada, because doing so has the roll-on economic effects to give opportunity to the LGBT plus community, which is traditionally underrepresented and faces unique challenges and barriers to access to business, to entrepreneurship. And Supplier Diversity is a program that has had a really big impact. And I'm sure we'll hear firsthand during the course of the week how Supplier Diversity and how our members who are certified suppliers are benefiting from certification. But I think there's definitely future opportunities as well. And I think taking the certification or the Supplier Diversity model and applying it to capital, I think, is something which is really important. Darryl, you referenced at the start of your remarks about how barriers to finance and barriers to capital really held back the community. And certainly our research it tells us that. Just last week we were profiled in the Toronto Star, where we were speaking about the lack of opportunity for diverse capital and how those barriers are having such a negative impact on our entrepreneurs and our members. And Gavin Armstrong, who is of course a member of the CGLCC board of directors, was profiled in that piece by the Toronto Star, and really eloquently, I think, outlined the first-hand challenges that our entrepreneurs are facing. So I think one of the ambitions for the organization will be to work to bridge the gap between capital and our LGBT plus business community, because as we look to build back better from COVID-19, and as a more equitable and inclusive recovery is on the agenda, that involves diversifying our capital and working with venture capital firms to ensure that this is a strategic goal, just like Supplier Diversity has been for many of our members over the last number of years. And I think it's also great to see as well, just again, back to Supplier Diversity, lots of work happening in this space and lots of great growth as well. And then the final and third piece, which I think is worth calling out, is advocacy. Budget 2021 was a good budget for LGBT plus business in Canada. It was the first time that LGBT plus businesses and direct support for LGBT plus businesses were called out in a budget paper, which CGLCC has been advocating very strongly behind the scenes through our pre-budget submissions at a variety of government levels across the country, and we're finally being heard. And specifically, for example, we saw over $100 million being allocated to diverse-owned businesses through the Small Business Entrepreneurship Fund, which was announced in Budget 2021. And I think LGBT plus businesses were called out as being part of that, which is, again, the first time that has ever happened. And we've also seen supplier diversity being specifically called out in Budget 2021. And we're seeing positive signs for the federal government to move towards implementing a fully fledged federal procurement system. Federal government is, of course, the biggest procurer of goods and services within the country. So that alone will have such a sizable impact on our community. But I think overall, the future is extremely bright for CGLCC, for our community. The last year has taken its toll, and I certainly don't have to tell the people on this webinar, any more about that. But I think as a community, we've shown resilience, and I think we're going to move forward with everything we got. And with that, I'm now going to pass it over to my colleague Paige, who's going to talk a bit more about our partnerships that we work with, and I know I've touched on a little bit about that, Paige, and then also our Out for Business Youth Entrepreneurship Program, because youth, of course, as we know, are a critical part of the CGLCC family. So Paige, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dale. Hi, everyone. I'm Paige, and I am the Partnerships and Youth Program Manager here at CGLCC. I'm based out of Toronto, and if you don't already know me, I am a lover of the outdoors. I dream of having a large vegetable garden and sing along to almost every song, even though I've been told I'm not very good at it. I have the distinct privilege of managing CGLCC's Out for Business Youth Entrepreneur Program. It was created in 2017 with the support of private and public partners and is a mentorship program to support LGBTQ+ youth through business and entrepreneurship. Now, the objective of the program is to empower LGBTQ+ youth aged 18 to 39 by providing them the support and guidance to help them establish and grow their own business. Now, overall, the program assists in positioning Canada for economic growth and ultimately helps engage and develop Canada's LGBTQ+ future leaders. Specifically, many of these youth are at high risk of facing discrimination, and many of them do not have the opportunity or support needed to develop their abilities or to become entrepreneurs, resulting in significantly and underutilized talent opportunities. Now, there are currently other youth mentorship programs, but none that focus specifically supporting youth in the LGBTQ+ community. Many of these youth may feel marginalized and may not have the opportunity to participate in these existing programs that you see today. By offering a program specifically for those folks, CGLCC is ensuring that they have equal access to opportunities. Participants in this 12-month program have access to networking opportunities, business grant funding, professional development workshops and webinars, and expert business mentors from the community that have been matched with them based on their current needs. Now, over the 5 cohorts that we've had to date, the program has actually proven to help young entrepreneurs develop management skills and fill knowledge gaps and develop new strategic networks, partnerships in a mindful and supportive environment. Through this program, the youth are foundationally set up for sustainable and future growth. Now, should you want to be involved in this program, it's actually open for applications right in this moment. If you want to be a mentor, if you want to be a mentee, feel free to just go to cglcc.ca and click on the Youth Entrepreneur tab to open up the applications. They're open until June 14th, so if you are interested, head over there now because they are closing soon. Also, if you're looking for more information about the Out for Business programs, or you want to partner with CGLCC on one or all of the amazing programs and events that we have, just don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to work with you folks and answer any questions that you might have. Now, I'm going to throw it over to my colleague, Ryan, whose current top 2 artists on Spotify are actually RuPaul and Bon Iver, and he is currently the only person who has successfully persuaded me to listen to Taylor Swift. Over to you, Ryan.
Thanks so much, Paige. And I have a feeling that there's a lot of people on this call who are impatiently waiting for the 1989 release to come out. So don't think I'm alone in that one. As Paige mentioned, my name is Ryan Nearing. I use he, him pronouns. I am born, raised, and based in Mi'kma'ki, Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I'm a lover of everything local here in Nova Scotia, and I have the utmost admiration for entrepreneurship. that passion for small business is primarily what drove me to join the Canada's LGBT+ Chamber of Commerce as the manager of membership and supplier diversity. So we operate as a membership-driven chamber. Our membership is open to both individuals and businesses who are members of or allies to the LGBTQ+ community. Our members receive extensive benefits, including access to regular programming and professional development opportunities, the opportunity to profile themselves on our CGLCC.ca members portal, as well as connection and networking opportunities with other members who are part of the Chamber's network. Membership is available for $20 a month and can be completed entirely online. After I'm done chatting here, I'll drop the link in the feed loop chat so folks can head on over to the website and explore membership with our chamber. Now, in my role, I work primarily on two main programs, our Supplier Diversity program and our Global program. I'll chat a little bit about both, and I'll start with the Supplier Diversity program. So through our program, we certify Canadian for-profit entities that are at least 51% owned, operated, and controlled by a member of the LGBT+ community as LGBT+ certified suppliers or LGBT+ business enterprises, LGBTEs for short. Then we connect these certified suppliers with corporate and government members who are actively looking to diversify their supply chains by working with more underrepresented groups. Now, while this is not a guarantee for business by any means, it does provide Canadian queer entrepreneurs and certified suppliers exclusive market access opportunities with some of North America's leading corporations. We're incredibly excited to see remarkable growth amongst our certified supplier base, including seeing a 30% increase in the number of certified suppliers we have a part of the chamber since 2020. We have an ambitious goal to see a 70% increase by the end of 2021. And thanks to an incredible uptake by other members of the LGBT+ business community, we are actively pursuing that goal. Now, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about our Supplier Diversity program, you have a few opportunities over the course of the summit. Immediately after this, I'll be doing a Supplier Diversity 101 workshop with a couple of certified suppliers and corporate members to sit on the panel. So make sure you click on the Sessions tab on the right-hand side. I think that's the right way. The right-hand side of the screen to check it out after we're done here. And for corporate and government members who are actively looking to launch or expand their supplier diversity efforts, please feel free to join our Supplier Diversity Corporate Stream workshops that will be taking place tomorrow and Wednesday. Again, just check out the Sessions tab as a part of the YouTube site. The second program that I work on here at the Chamber is our Global program. So our Global program helps you access international business development opportunities by connecting LGBT+ enterprises with a global network of LGBT+ chambers of commerce, governments, corporate partners, businesses, and individuals, again, who are all collectively looking to advance LGBTQ+ entrepreneurships in their countries, in their communities, and around the world. We also equip our members with the practical information they need on how to do business abroad and provide insider information on trends in trade and various markets. Our trade missions, collaboration on government programs, and resources give you the opportunity to speak with the right people and to get the right information to expand your business. Now, most recently, we hosted our first ever virtual trade mission in March. We had previously done 2 in-person trade missions. This is the first time that we pivoted to a virtual only mission. In that context, we had 5 certified suppliers who met with over 60 Colombian-based organizations and corporations. All of those meetings resulted in numerous follow-ups, and we're incredibly excited to see that type of tangible benefits come from those type of activities. Throughout the month of March, we also hosted a series of global market workshops, which provided our members with the resources and the tools that they needed, again, to expand their international business development opportunities. We have a couple of sessions coming up over the course of the summit, specifically related to global activities and programming as well. This includes a conversation tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 12 noon Atlantic, with global LGBT+ chambers of commerce, as well as 2 workshops that are taking place Wednesday afternoon, one for Canadian businesses looking to export abroad, and one for international businesses looking to establish a presence in Canada. Again, all of that information found on the Sessions tab through the Feed Loop site. Make sure you add those to your calendar because you do not want to miss them. Now, all in all, no matter where you are on your entrepreneurial journey, Canada's LGBT+ Chamber of Commerce is here to help, and our entire team is willing to have the conversations and work with you to support your growth and to support your business's growth. Now, with that said, I'm going to throw it over to my colleague, Leah. Like I said, I'm based in Nova Scotia, so I have never been to Niagara-on-the-Lake. But if there's one thing that I know for sure, is that we have the Queen of Niagara-on-the-Lake who works with the Chamber. So I have the perfect tour guide to go whenever I head over that way. So Leah, I'll throw it over to you.
Thank you, Ryan, for those incredibly kind words. I am Leah McCormick, and I am located in St. Catharines in the beautiful Niagara region, about 10 minutes away from Niagara-on-the-Lake. The city of St. Catharines and the Niagara region is the traditional home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. The land is traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples. I'm about to date myself a little here, but I have been involved with the CGLCC in various ways since its inception, as Daryl said, 18 years ago. In 2018, I began working as the administrative assistant for the CGLCC, and last year I assumed the role of tourism manager. Working with Tourism HR Canada and the Tourism Project brought me back to my roots in tourism management. Businesses today are having to constantly adapt to new challenges as we face this ongoing pandemic together. The tourism industry faces particular challenges as everybody is being encouraged to stay home as much as possible. However, we see tourism operators and businesses find creative solutions to stay afloat and even thrive in these stressful times. Resilience is definitely key on our road to recovery. As we're all learning to adapt, it makes it the perfect time to plan and prepare to welcome LGBT+ travelers and break into this relatively untapped market. Destinations and tourism businesses need to invest time and resources if they are going to gain loyalty and support of the often unconsidered LGBT+ community. In these trying times, we look to business leaders to pave the way for a more inclusive industry. The CGLCC offers a number of educational and market readiness support opportunities, including online training, workshops, seminars, destination audits, and a phenomenal toolkit of resource guides. The newest program, which we will be announcing later today, is Rainbow Registered, which is a new national LGBT+ safe space accreditation program. We all want to see the tourism industry rebound with strength. With our continued work together, support of one another, and adaptation to our changing world, we can ensure that the tourism industry can continue to thrive and destinations can begin to welcome the LGBT+ community. Now, that all being said, I'd like to hand it back to our fearless leader, Daryl Sherman.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Leah. Ryan, the one thing I was going to mention, I don't think anybody's looking forward to Taylor Swift's I'm sorry, I'm just kidding.
Well, strong disagree.
RuPaul, I won't lie. I think one of we do weekly team meetings on Monday, and I think what has become ritual is that we always talk about the recent RuPaul episode, whichever country version we happen to be watching. But so thanks everyone for sharing a little bit about kind of the work that we've done. I know that we've kind of taken the last 30 minutes here to talk about what we've done, and we could probably really take another 30 or 60 minutes more to really go into more detail. We have a variety of different programs that you've heard about, but we also have a lot of different committees that we really work to try to engage our partners in. And the one thing that I realized none of us talked about was the fact that we are also a fun organization, if I do say so. Who said fun and business couldn't go together, right? One of the ways that I would say is demonstrated that the best is through our annual gala. So every November we host our annual Black and White Gala. And it's really an opportunity for us to recognize and celebrate Canadian LGBT plus businesses and our allies. And although we had to do it virtually last year, and we may be doing it again virtually this year, it's still an amazing way to come together and celebrate and recognize those deserving individuals. So, and there's a lot of other things that I think that we talked about, but what I want to mention as well is that we're not doing this alone. We work closely with other business organizations, our corporate and government partners. We work closely with academia and other civil society organizations. We know the value that comes by working together. And so I'm so thankful that we have a network of partners that we can tap into and that we can lean on, not only here in Canada, but globally. And so, so what I think we'll maybe do now is we'll open the floor up for if anybody has questions, or we can hear Paige sing some of her songs that she likes to sing, but no offense, but I think we probably want to hear questions. No, I'm just kidding, Paige.
No, so, and it looks like we have a few questions coming in the chat here, Daryl.
Great.
And we have a number of folks. Sylvain Brisson, who is the company called Quasar. He participated in the Ed for Business program, is commenting on how beneficial he had that. Our counterparts, the LGBT plus chamber in India, dropped a chat saying that they're glad to be online. They'll be joining us for a global panel discussion tomorrow. But I think one of the questions that came in, Daryl, is I think there's been a lot of growth in the chamber over the course of the past year, and a lot of people who have been around the CGLCC network for a while. So for those individuals who have been around for a while and may not necessarily know some of the most recent activities that we've been working on, or some of the things that have changed, what would be kind of your brief recap of the year in review since the last summit?
Since the last summit, wow. I mean, I think that there's been a lot. Dale touched on the research that we're currently doing, but we also just launched, well, actually, I think we're right now launching our most recent study that we completed in partnership with Deloitte. And that is our second national landscape study that really looks at LGBT plus businesses across the country, helping us to help to verify and validate, the economic impact that I talked about earlier, the economic impact that our businesses are having, but also really helping to identify those challenges that, again, Dale mentioned. So, that research was certainly a big one. Leah talked about the tourism work that we've been doing. This was an amazing partnership with Tourism HR Canada and with the support of the federal government that, our ability to help the tourism industry to help prepare them for recovery and helping to make sure that they're LGBT market ready, to make sure that LGBT travelers have an inclusive experience, I think is really exciting. And this accreditation launch that Leah is going to be talking about in an hour, I think, again, some exciting stuff. And, I think that, we hope that the pandemic and the travel restrictions will be eased up soon. You talked, Ryan, about the recent virtual trade mission, and our hope is that we can start to work again towards doing in-person trade missions, because what an awesome and great opportunity for our businesses to really expand, not only domestically here but internationally, and through the partnerships that we have globally. So I'm so glad that our friends from India and the SummitVest Chamber of Commerce is here with us. These are things that we're continuing to work on to help provide greater opportunities for our businesses here to really access the global network. So that's just a few, but I open it up. Anybody else doing this?
Yeah, just one thing to say, one thing as I reflect on the year since our last summit, I'm just amazed at how connected we've remained. I think so many people, so many communities, because of COVID-19, have really felt alone and really disconnected. But, you know, when I look at everything we're doing here in CGLCC, Ryan, you referenced the virtual trade mission. You know, when you think of a trade mission taking place during a pandemic, you think impossible, but, you know, we were able to do it virtually. And actually one of the bits of feedback that we got from that virtual trade mission was that it was extremely successful. And one business said that they did, over the course of 3 days, what would normally have taken them 6 months to do. So, you know, between that and you know, the gala, which was viewed, you know, over 4,000 times online, to, you know, nearly 1,000 people joining us here today, and over the course of the week, you know, I just think that speaks to the resilience of the community and speaks to how connected and how much value we place on staying together as a community.
Yeah,
no, and I do know Javier is saying that the gala must be in person this year, and while I could not agree more with him, but remains to be seen, unfortunately. But we shall see.
Paige, you and I both started at the Chamber around the same time, so you're rounding the corner on your first cohort with the Out for Business program, and like you said, applications are open for this year's cohort. What do you think are some of the like really tangible benefits or takeaways that some of the program participants had from this past year?
For sure. Yeah. I think one of the things, and to build on Dale's comment, is just that sense of community, being able to bring folks from very different backgrounds together. And when they're working on a business, can bounce ideas off of each other and have that sense of community together when they're each trying to build their own businesses. But on top of that, I feel like one of the benefits of the program is definitely our mentors. We have so many great folks that we work with, and our mentors bring so much to each of the mentees that we work with. And we're so thankful to be able to have them as a part of our CGLCC community. And just the openness and willingness to learn from each other. The mentees in the program are truly awesome. Their business ideas are amazing, and you'll see some of them later on in the EY pitch competition on Thursday. Their commitment to their business is amazing, and they show up to every workshop with questions and the willingness to learn. And it's truly awesome to see, especially when this year has been quite difficult for so many of us.
Daryl, one of the questions came in, and we just had Deborah from the Kellogg Company drop a comment in the chat here, talking about Kellogg's expanded support to the CGLCC corporate partners through programming, including the Corporate Advisory Council and Procurement Advisory Council, kind of to your earlier point on a lot of those collaborative bodies. But we have a question here. Just curious if the CGLCC has had involvement with the Government of Canada's LGBTQ2 action plan. Throw it over to you and Dale.
Yeah, sure. And so first of all, I want to give a shout out to all of our corporate partners, and thank you, Deborah, for being here. Kellogg is a founding partner of our Supplier Diversity Program and has been with us. They were with us from our very first summit and Supplier Diversity Forum that we did 8 years ago or 9 years ago. And so they've been tremendous partners, and as have all of our corporate partners. And I mentioned that our corporate base has now grown to 45, and I think that it's been such an amazing experience to see that the level of engagement coming from corporations and governments as well, realizing the importance that diversity and inclusion have, and supplier diversity, and the role that it can play in helping to create that inclusive economy. So I think in terms of the action plan, yes, we did make a submission for the action plan. I think that this is something that, for those of you that may not be aware, the federal government has made a commitment to look to see how they can further support the LGBT plus community, and part of that is consultation with the broader population, the broader community, which they did earlier this year. But the second piece of that was really to reach out to the civil society organizations like the CGLCC to provide recommendations around this action plan. So earlier this year, we submitted our recommendations around what we think that the federal government should be doing to continue to advance the rights and opportunities for LGBT individuals. So I'm not sure, Dale, if you want to kind of go into some of the specifics around that, or just kind of high level if you want.
Yeah, I mean, so the first thing to say as well is that, as we look at recovery and as we look at inclusivity, inclusive entrepreneurship is something that's absolutely going to be critical. And it's just something we've been advocating for through lots of avenues like the action plan, but also, as we engage, a variety of ministries and decision makers, that entrepreneurism is at the heart and core of a recovery. So just to make that point. But, in terms of the, our involvement in the action plan, we've been there from the get-go. We have a great relationship with the LGBTQ2 Secretariat. The call for submissions closed, I think, in the last week or two. And as Daryl mentioned, we made that submission. The next step is the federal government organizing a series of roundtables, which CGLCC hopes to be represented at, and making sure that the voice of LGBT plus business and entrepreneurs is at that table, is at the table. But it's something where we think there's a lot of value for, and we'll continue to make that case.
So I think we're just coming up on time now, but maybe to wrap things up, why don't we do a rapid fire for all of us of the one thing that we're looking forward to the most over the course of this week. As everyone on the call knows, we have a jam-packed program over 4 days, already started off strong earlier today with the UN standards of LGBTI standards and lots more to come. So Leah, why don't you kick us off? What's the one thing that you're looking forward to the most this week?
I will say definitely the launch of the Rainbow Registered program later today. I'm excited for everybody to hear about it and for businesses to get started. And I think it's definitely going to be an exciting session and moving forward, a great new program.
Paige, what about you?
I'm looking forward to a lot of them, but I think one of the ones I'm looking forward to most is our session with the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. That's tomorrow. They're chatting about how important mental health is, especially creating discussions in the workplace, and how entrepreneurs over the past year can get support and resources. And I think that's an important conversation to have.
Dale, what are you the most excited for?
Well, Ryan, I have the pleasure of sitting down with the founder and CEO of Lightspeed, Dax Silva, tomorrow afternoon. So I'm looking forward to, just learning a lot more about his perspective, his thought leadership, and getting his views on, how important out leadership is for the business community and entrepreneurism.
Very cool. Now, Daryl, before I throw it over to you to wrap up, I have to say I'm the most excited for our 2021 EY Virtual Pitch Series finale. It's taking place Thursday morning. All throughout the course of this year, we've had over 12 certified suppliers out for business entrepreneurs perfect their pitches, present themselves to a panel of judges from EY. And now we have 4 finalists that will be taking part in the grand finale this Thursday morning. They're all competing for the grand prize, which is a full scholarship to the Supplier Diversity Program at Dartmouth College, Dartmouth, New Hampshire, not Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. So an incredibly valuable opportunity. Really looking forward to that. So Daryl, what's the one thing you would be most excited for?
Ryan, that's a really tough one. It's like asking a parent to pick their favorite child, right? Like, I mean, there's so much great programming that we have taking place this week. It is really hard. I mean, we have our amazing Unstoppable talks. We're going to hear from some really great, inspiring individuals. We have, as Dale talked about, we have a series of one-on-ones with 3 different LGBT plus out business leaders. Some great panel conversations. So I seriously, I can't pick, although since I did mention that fun was a part of our mantra here at the Chamber, I would be remiss if I didn't say the closing reception taking place on Wednesday night. I mean, we have a DJ, come on. I mean, I know it's virtual, but I hope everybody will be able to tune in. And so maybe I will just, I know that we're at time, so I just want to thank everybody for joining us here today. We are here, as mentioned earlier, to support you, to work with you. So please feel free to reach out to any of us. We're here with you all week. And so throughout the week, make use of that chat function that's in FeedLoop. So make use of that, reach out to us, set up a time to connect with us. Let us know if you have any questions or if there's anything that we can do to help you. Enjoy the rest of the week. I'm supposed to tell you, and I just lost it. The next session, I'm going from memory, starts at 3:15, and it is Supplier Diversity 101. So please, you have a 15-minute break here, and the next session starts at 3:15 Eastern. Thank you all, and enjoy the summit.